I just want to tell you guys a little bit about my experience. Some of you guys might know me from America's Next Top Model. If you see me in the background of Cycle 10 when I was one of the extras, you would know that Adam and Taz are the ones that put us in the background as the extras. So they actually even got me that opportunity to be on Top Model. And who knew that just me going there and giving 100% of who I was at the time would end up taking me on such a journey that it has. Way before Top Model or even Reciprocity, I had a mother who had me at 17 years old. Typical story of a young mom, independent. It was me and my brother. And one day, my mom struggled so much that we had to go into the shelter. Between that and her being in an abusive relationship, I would have never thought that I would be going through the same kind of situations that my mom went through years before me. But I knew that when I went into them, that I can overcome them just like my mother did. So when I decided that I wanted to move to New York after college, I moved to New York as a fashion designer. I went to school for a fashion design at the Art Institute of Philadelphia on a full tuition scholarship that I won for that division or for that major. And I kind of felt like I had everything planned out. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I went there, I accomplished it. I graduated with the industry award for Best Evening Wear Collection. And I just kind of knew I had everything in the bag. But at that time, I was in an abusive relationship. And I knew that I had to get away from that situation. So I moved back home with my family. And at that point, being a woman of, I guess, transgender experience, someone who was born in the wrong body, I knew that transitioning was something that I would do. So after I got my degree, I went back home, but I knew that living at home with my family was not going to be the best decision for me, just for the simple fact that although they loved me, I knew that they were not accepting of the fact that I wanted to transition. So with having a degree and having a mindset of what I wanted out of life and who I wanted to be, like so many other people, I moved to New York and I said, I'm never looking back. I'm going to go and pursue my career. It's going to be so easy. I'm going to have that story just like everybody else does. And when I moved to New York, I quickly learned that, number one, I was renting out a room, and I worked a retail job, and anybody knows retail knows that you never know how many hours you're going to get. So quickly, I depleted my account from money I've saved up from working before I moved to New York, and basically, I had a choice. Did I want to go back home to Maryland, where I was from, to live with my family who were going to stagnate my transition, as well as move somewhere that I knew fashion wasn't going to, it was no fashion there pretty much. Or am I going to stay in New York? Well, anybody here from Maryland or anybody knows? I mean, Maryland isn't too far behind, but come on, if you want to pursue a career in fashion, you're not going to live in Maryland. So between that and wanting to transition, I said, you know what, New York had all the opportunities for me, so I was going to do that. So like I said, I depleted my account within 6 months of moving into New York, and at that point I had just turned 21. And somebody told me, well, my thing was I didn't want to go back home. So it was like, are you going to go back home where they're going to stagnate you, or are you going to live here? If you live up here, you have to go into the shelter. I was so terrified, but I just thought about my mother years before me and my mom living in a shelter. And I said, if my mom can do it, I can do it. It's just me. I don't have 2 kids to take care of, so I can do this. So I moved into the shelter, and I learned quickly that compared to a lot of people I've seen in the program, I lived in Covenant House in Newark, New Jersey for a week, but as a woman who started to transition, I knew that that wasn't necessarily the best place for me. And after a week, I got into the Ali Forney Center. So I went there, and I met so many people, and it seemed like most of the people I met, they didn't have their minds focused on what they wanted to do or who they wanted to be. They just dwelled on the fact that either their families put them out or this happened or that happened. And I kind of came to a situation saying, okay, I'm going in a program because I'm going to use all the resources that a program has for me. And I'm going to continue to do everything that I came to New York to do. and I'm just not going to dwell on the fact that I'm homeless. So pretty much I stayed on track, and within a few weeks, I remember in the California Center, I seen a flyer that said something about get a chance to get into the Reciprocity Foundation. And it's kind of like what Taz talked about, where it's kind of like a scholarship, like you had to earn your way in. Like, and I'm like, I'm going to get my place. I'm going to get in Reciprocity, and I don't care like what kind of essay I have to write. This is definitely for me. And so many people told me about the program and how they connect you with industry professionals, and it's for people who want to do creative things. So when I seen that flyer that day, that was 2007. I was 21, so that was 6 years ago, not to tell my age. But I didn't know that the Reciprocity Foundation would change my life and still continue to change my life. And yeah, I went there. I ended up getting in. I remember getting that call. I was so excited. And I didn't realize that that's how it was set up until Taz just talked about it. It let me know, like, that really did make a difference, because it made me feel like I worked hard for it. And I think that was definitely a first step of helping you to realize you can achieve something if you just put effort in it. It's not going to just be handed to you, but even if you show just a little bit of effort, you can get the help. And I think that's the first step of saying that I need help. And for me, even now, I still like struggle with asking for help, and just because I think once you accomplish certain things, you kind of have the stigma of you have to do it on your own, or, head up and head straight. And I kind of struggle with that sometimes, even now, to say, okay, I do need help, because although as a creative young person with so much potential, sometimes you know where you want to be, but you don't necessarily know how to get there. And that's definitely what Reciprocity gave me. They helped me to figure out how to get from point A to point B. I remember I just wrote on my face, sorry to get into social media, but I just wrote on my Twitter the other day, sometimes it's not about finding the right answers, rather it's about finding the right path. And I think that's really important to know. Sometimes you aren't going to have all the answers, but Adam and Tess definitely helped me to lead me in the right direction. And I think at the end of the day, that's the only thing that you can really do. As long as you try your hardest and you're going in the right path, then you can't really fail. They helped me so much, from meditation, going on a retreat, learning how to meditate. First of all, I never learned how to meditate. I never knew how to meditate before. And I always thought I had such a short attention span, I wouldn't even know how to. So learning how to meditate and just talking to somebody like Adam or Taz, if you guys just listen to them, and number one, they sound so like soothing, calming, very zen. And you never know how like that's really going to affect you. You can come in there like so amped up. So many times I came in, even recently talking to Adam, and so amped up and so much aggression, and then he's just like, what's your problem? What's going on? And it's like, this is getting on my nerves. So how can we solve that? And you have the incense, and you never know how much things like that, little things will make a difference until you're in those situations. And just finding people who can help you direct so much energy is something that I think every young person, every person, especially a young person living in a program who might most likely feel like they don't have somebody to look to for an answer or to look to for guidance. And a lot of young people feel like, nobody cares. I know I can't say I didn't feel like anybody cared. For me, it was more so, I know what I want to do, I just don't know how to do it. And I didn't realize that I had so many other issues that I had to deal with until talking with them. And they really helped me to kind of put the puzzle pieces together. And I think that, like I said, that's for some people, for most people, I think that finding out how to put the puzzle pieces together is a lifetime journey. But just making sure you're doing all the right things. Let's just say you pull the box of puzzles out. Like, that's more important than you just like having it up in a closet saying, I'm going to work on a puzzle one day. Pulling the puzzle out and just starting to pull those pieces out is definitely the first step into making a change, making a better life for yourself. They adamant, like, they don't even know how much they really, well, I think they might know how much they really, affected my life. And just giving me the opportunity to be on Top Model, to say I can do it, and just to put all my energy into something, I think is very important. And that's definitely one of the things I took away from them, or I continue to take away from them. Even them putting the organization together and just making it work and bringing all these young people allowed me to introduce myself to so many people. And once I graduated the program, I went on to do Top Model. And even before that, actually, one time they brought in somebody, a lady, who talked to us about the company she worked for. It was a Bumble and Bumble company, and she was a salon manager. She ran the whole salon, and she was trans. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is like the first time I'm meeting someone that transitioned that has like a real career, which shouldn't be that hard to find. But at the time, for me, I never met anybody that wasn't into the sex work, who was an older woman that actually had a real career. And that really affected me, because as a young person who was struggling, I already had my morals, but I think seeing that example of somebody who said, well, I have a real career. I know that I could have had a career anyway, but just seeing somebody and being aware of that really helped motivate me, and to say, you know what, I can do the same thing. I don't have to give into the stigma that so many people told me I would have to do when I moved to New York, just because I was a trans woman. And I ended up getting an opportunity to work at the salon Bumble and Bumble, because I really interacted and made my presence known to that woman. And even just working at Bumble while I was living in the program, it really made a big difference for me in my life. And it was great money. It was like, oh my God, I never had a job making this much, and it was full-time and benefits, and I'm still living in a program. So I managed to save $1,000 a month to go into my account in the program. I think I was pretty much the person that went through the ranks quickly, just because I went into the program, California, knowing what I wanted. And that's the same thing that happened when I went in Reciprocity. Sometimes the kids just need to know it's okay to want more, to want to follow your dreams, and not be shot down just because it might be to someone else far-fetched. Some can say that my dreams are far-fetched, but I kind of always had this go-getter. This is what I want to do. I might not know how to get there, but I know I'm so confident in my talent that it's going to work out for me. And I think that just having people to kind of hone that and believe in you, especially at a very vulnerable time, really makes a difference. And I learned that after Top Model and everything, I got my own apartment on my own, and I had it for 2 years, and I was like, you know what, I'm finally here. Everything I learned from California and Reciprocity and Top Model, I learned so much, and then I have my own place. I'm so accomplished. And within the second year after going back to do Top Model All-Stars, I kind of found myself just in my apartment by myself, lonely, knew what I want or know what I want, but I kind of fell back into that mentality of, yeah, I have somewhere to sleep, so that's safe, but kind of comfortable. And I think that when a lot of these youth get the assistance and the housing, they kind of get that same mentality. I would have never thought I would go back in the sense of backsliding and getting, I don't want to say comfortable, but kind of stuck and confused and like don't know what to do. And then I found myself right back at Reciprocity. And the funny thing is, when I graduated from Reciprocity years ago, I kind of thought, well, number one, originally I thought I would age out, but I found out I wouldn't. Like so many other organizations that make a big difference, because 25 is the age out. After Top Model, and I kind of did a couple of things, I came back and I was pretty much at that age, and I came back looking for a little bit of guidance, but also like, oh, maybe I can coach some of the new students at Reciprocity. And when I came back, I was like, oh my God, I still need their help. It's like, wait a second, and that's when I had to go back and check my pride and say, you know what, having someone spiritually to help you refocus or kind of reboot you, no matter how old you are, is okay. It's definitely something that everybody needs. Sometimes just someone to sit down and talk to you, especially in that calm, soothing voice, to let you know that everything is going to be okay. Not just because they're saying it, but because, okay, what are we going to do to help set up the right steps to help you get to where you want to go? And I was kind of like, wow, I accomplished so much. And then I realized that the bare essential things that I needed, I kind of overlooked, and I kind of just jumped to conclusions that I had it all together. And I realized that spiritual being and just being yourself and figuring out what you want out of life and how to get there and guidance, I realized that those things don't have an age limit on them. And that's definitely the reason why I feel like the youth who live in the programs, they need more than just a place to live. I know, because when I actually had my own place, being someone that lived in a shelter and that had that same situation, I still needed that guidance. I still need that guidance. I still go to them and get that guidance. And I definitely feel like Reciprocity is one of the best organizations I've ever seen. I know firsthand. And honestly, like that retreat, once I came off that retreat, I was like, I'm like Adam and Taz. I'm so like, I was walking around like, oh, look at the trees. And like everything was so awesome. And it really helped me to find my center. And I never knew what that was until I went on that retreat. And honestly, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go back to the regular world. And I had to, and I kind of, not backslid, but I kind of lost focus of the essentials. You kind of forget that the little things are the things that matter most. And, I need to go back on that retreat. When I got the help from Adam and Tez, I said that one day I want to be able to give back. And even if it's something small, me just giving my testimony about how they have personally changed my life, if that's something small, then I'll do it a million times. So thank you guys.